23 NBA seasons for LeBron James, and right now on ESPN.com, a piece that only Dave McMenamin could write. He's been covering LeBron every day.
LeBron James became the first active player in NBA history to cross the billion-dollar line, and he did it without ever hitting pause on his actual day job. Most athletes wait until retirement to count their fortune. Most celebrities wait until the cameras stop rolling to figure out what their name is really worth. By the end of this video, you will understand exactly how one kid from Akron, Ohio, flipped that script, turning a basketball career into an enterprise architecture that generates wealth whether he plays tonight or not. This is not a story about a contract. It is a story about a blueprint, and almost nobody has copied it correctly. Here is the part most people miss. In 2008, a 23-year-old LeBron agreed to wear a pair of headphones in exchange for a tiny 1% stake in a company almost nobody had heard of. That company was Beats by Dre. 6 years later, Apple wrote a $3 billion check to buy it. And a kid from a single mother's apartment in Akron walked away with a reported $30 million in cash and stock, more than his basketball salary that entire year. And that was only the beginning. The real empire came later. And the quiet part nobody talks about is what he has done with the money since. Over the next 18 minutes, we will walk through where LeBron lives today and why his homes reveal a man most fans do not actually know. The childhood in Akron that shaped every single business decision he has ever made. The career arc that turned a high school phenom into the most scrutinized athlete of his generation. The financial empire built quietly around Spring Hill, Fenway Sports Group, and a Nike deal worth more than most franchises. The real estate portfolio, the philanthropy that funded an entire public school, the family life guarded like a vault, and finally, the legacy he is still writing in real time. At 41, LeBron James lives differently than you would expect. The cameras still find him on Tuesday nights in Los Angeles, arena lights catching the same signature headband, the same patient walk to the scorer's table. But when the game ends, he does not disappear into a nightclub skyline or a yacht in Saint-Tropez. He drives home. He goes to a 2.5-acre compound in Beverly Hills, where a second mansion next door is being built for his oldest son, and he eats dinner with his wife of more than 12 years. This is his 23rd season in the National Basketball Association. He shares a locker room with Bronny, his own flesh and blood, the first father and son duo ever to wear the same NBA uniform at the same time. That alone would be enough to define a legacy. But for LeBron, basketball is only one of 4 or 5 simultaneous careers he is running at any given moment. He wakes early. He trains with an intensity that younger teammates find almost unnerving. He reads scripts for Spring Hill, the production company he co-founded. He reviews quarterly figures on his Fenway Sports Group investment, which gives him ownership slices of both Liverpool Football Club and the Boston Red Sox. He checks in on his foundation in Akron, where a public school he funded is now serving hundreds of at-risk kids. And somewhere in between, he finds time to be a husband, a father of 3, and a grounded, deeply private man who has quietly outgrown the mythology surrounding him. The version of LeBron the public argues about on television has very little to do with the man actually going home at night. That man is building something bigger than basketball. And to understand how he got here, you have to go back to a very different apartment building in a very different city a very long time ago. Early life and origins. LeBron Raymond James was born on December 30th, 1984, in Akron, Ohio, to a 16-year-old mother named Gloria James. His father was absent from the start. Gloria raised her son alone, and for much of LeBron's early childhood, alone meant unstable. They moved constantly, sometimes staying with relatives, sometimes with friends, sometimes in small apartments that never lasted long. By the time LeBron was 5, the family had already moved 7 times. There were stretches with no consistent address, stretches where food and heat were not guaranteed, stretches where a single mother in her early 20s did everything she could to keep her only child fed and in school. One of those early apartment complexes was called Spring Hill. He would remember the name. By 4th grade, LeBron had missed nearly 100 days of school. Gloria, understanding her son needed stability more than she could give him in that moment, made the kind of decision that only a mother who loves her child fiercely can make. She placed him temporarily with the family of his youth football coach, Frank Walker. Under the Walkers' roof, LeBron finally had a bed, a bedtime, and a routine. He did not miss a day of school that next year. It was also inside that stability that basketball found him. By middle school, LeBron was dominating local leagues. By high school, at St. Vincent St. Mary in Akron, he was being called the next Michael Jordan at 16 years old. Sports Illustrated put him on its cover with the headline, "The Chosen One," before he had ever played a professional minute. It was a level of scrutiny no teenager should ever be asked to carry. And yet, perhaps because of the years of instability, perhaps because of Gloria, perhaps because of something inside him that the cameras never captured, LeBron carried it anyway. Career journey and evolution. In 2003, the Cleveland Cavaliers selected him first overall in the NBA draft. He was 18 years old. Rookie of the Year came immediately. An All-Star selection came the year after. But the story of LeBron's career was never really about individual accolades, even as they piled up into one of the most decorated resumes in sports history. It was about the burden of being expected to win, the wave after wave of expectation that crashed against a young man from Akron who was still, in many ways, figuring out who he was. He left Cleveland in 2010 for Miami, a decision announced on a live television special that the sports world has never entirely forgiven. He won 2 championships with the Heat alongside Dwyane Wade and Chris Bosh, and learned what it meant to be hated. He returned to Cleveland in 2014, and 4 years later, he delivered on a promise he had made to the city, an NBA championship, the first in franchise history. Coming back from a 3-1 deficit against a 73-win Golden State Warriors team, it remains one of the greatest finals performances ever recorded. He joined the Los Angeles Lakers in 2018. He won a 4th championship in 2020. He became the NBA's all-time leading scorer in 2023, passing Kareem Abdul-Jabbar on a Tuesday night in Los Angeles with his family sitting courtside. And in 2024, he drafted his own son, Bronny, into the NBA, or rather, the Lakers did, and LeBron simply kept playing long enough to share a court with him. 23 seasons in, still producing at a level that younger all-stars envy, still collecting somewhere around $52 million per year in salary alone. But somewhere along the way, the basketball became the least valuable part of his business. Financial overview and business ventures. Here is where the quiet wealth story becomes almost unbelievable. Over his career, LeBron has earned more than $580 million in NBA salary, more than any player in league history. Impressive. Historic, even. But as of March 2026, Forbes pegs his total net worth somewhere between $1.3 and $1.4 billion, which means basketball income accounts for less than half of what he is actually worth. The rest came from a series of decisions that most athletes, at the time, would have called crazy. Begin with Nike. As a rookie, LeBron turned down a larger upfront check from Reebok in favor of a longer-term relationship with Nike. Decades later, that patience produced a lifetime deal, reportedly worth over $1 billion in projected value, an arrangement that pays him royalties on merchandise for the rest of his life, and arguably for generations beyond. Then, Beats. In 2008, LeBron took a small 1% equity stake in a struggling headphones company in exchange for simply wearing them in public. When Apple bought Beats for $3 billion in 2014, that 1% turned into roughly $30 million in cash and stock, the largest equity payout for an athlete at the time. And it taught him something that has shaped every deal since. Ownership matters more than payment. Equity compounds. Endorsement checks do not. Then came Spring Hill, co-founded with his longtime friend and business partner Maverick Carter, and named after the Akron apartment complex of his childhood. The company became a full production house, producing films like Space Jam: A New Legacy and Hustle, the talk show The Shop, and a library of documentaries. At its peak in 2021, Spring Hill attracted outside investment at a valuation of around $725 million. The years since have been harder. Hollywood contracted. The business merged with the British production company Fulwell 73, and its valuation came down. But the core principle remains intact. LeBron built a media company that generates value independently of whether he is on the court or not. Then Fenway Sports Group, where his equity stake gives him partial ownership in Liverpool Football Club, the Boston Red Sox, and a portfolio of global sports assets. Then Blaze Pizza, where an early ground floor investment turned into a nationwide chain of more than 300 stores. Then smaller bets on Lyft, on Tonal, on Whoop, on Status Pro. The kind of portfolio diversification most athletes never even consider. The through line is simple. LeBron never built his wealth around being famous. He built it around owning things: home, real estate, and lifestyle. The houses tell you almost as much about the man as the bank statements do. Start in Brentwood, Los Angeles. For the past several years, this has been the family's primary residence, a 16,000 square foot mansion on Nightingale Drive with 8 bedrooms, 11 bathrooms, a rooftop terrace, a wine cellar, a cigar room with its own air purification system, an onyx bar, a massage room, a sauna, a steam room, and a full indoor gym. He purchased it in 2017 for around $23 million. It has been the emotional center of the James family since Bronny was still in high school. But Brentwood is no longer the end of the story. In July of 2020, at the height of the pandemic, LeBron quietly purchased a historic 1930s estate in Beverly Hills for $36.75 million. 2.5 acres of hilltop land, sweeping ocean and city views, and enough privacy that paparazzi helicopters cannot track what happens behind the hedges. In 2023, he demolished the original house. In its place, he began constructing a 2-home family compound, one primary mansion of roughly 16,000 square feet, and a secondary residence of around 6,500 square feet that is widely reported to be for Bronny. Father and son, NBA teammates, and neighbors in Beverly Hills. It is an architectural plan that only a man thinking in terms of generational continuity would even consider. Then there is Akron. LeBron has never sold his original Ohio home, a 30,000 square foot estate in Bath Township that he purchased in 2003 with the money from his rookie Nike deal. 7 acres, a home theater, a guest house, a private basketball court. It sits empty much of the year, but he goes back. He takes his kids back. Akron is not a place he left. It is a place he returns to. 3 homes across the country, and each one tells a different chapter of the same story. Brentwood is the working home. Beverly Hills is the future. Akron is the root. Philanthropy and community impact. LeBron's giving is where you see his childhood most clearly. In 2018, the LeBron James Family Foundation partnered with the Akron public school system to open the IPromiseSchool, a public, not charter, not private, full tuition-free school specifically designed to serve children identified as most at risk of falling behind academically. Kids who had missed dozens of days, kids from single-parent homes, kids who, in almost every meaningful way, reminded him of himself. The school does not just teach, it provides free uniforms, free meals, free bicycles, free transportation, and a guaranteed full college scholarship to the University of Akron for every student who completes the program and meets the requirements. It extends services to the families of the students' job training, GED programs, food pantries, because LeBron understood from his own childhood that you cannot save a kid without also supporting the mother raising that kid. In the years since, his foundation has expanded into housing for families, transitioning out of poverty, into a community medical center, into a retail and wellness hub in downtown Akron. He has not announced most of it on television. He has simply kept building. When people ask why LeBron has stayed so publicly grounded, despite wealth that could have turned anyone else into a caricature, the answer is not humility in the abstract. It is Akron. It is Gloria. It is the apartment building he named his company after. Personal life, family, and relationships. He married his high school sweetheart. Savannah Brinson met LeBron when she was a sophomore at a rival Akron high school, and he was a junior at St. Vincent St. Mary. They started dating before he had ever played a minute of professional basketball. She was there for the draft. She was there through Cleveland, Miami, Cleveland again, and Los Angeles. They got engaged on New Year's Eve in 2011. They married in a small, private ceremony in San Diego in 2013. They have 3 children together. Bronny, now a member of the Los Angeles Lakers, and alongside his father, one half of the first father-son duo to play in the NBA at the same time. Bryce, a rising college basketball player at the University of Arizona. And Juri, their daughter, who has grown up with a quiet grace that mirrors her mother's, and who has her own following on YouTube and social media, despite her parents guarding her childhood fiercely. Savannah has been the architect of the family's private life. She rarely gives interviews. She does not chase celebrity. She built a home that feels more like a home than a trophy case. And LeBron, in nearly every interview where he has been asked about success, has pointed to her as the reason he has been able to carry what he carries. Faith plays a quiet but consistent role. The family attends church. LeBron references God in his social media posts, in his tattoos, in the rhythm of how he talks about gratitude. He does not perform his spirituality for cameras. He lives it. And loss has shaped him. Gloria, his mother, remains alive and close to the family. He still dotes on her publicly, still credits her with everything. But the deaths of mentors, of friends like Kobe Bryant in 2020, of teammates, of figures from the early Akron days, have each left marks that anyone paying attention can see in how he speaks about time, about family, about what actually matters. Legacy and influence. What does LeBron James leave behind? On the court, the numbers will speak for themselves. The all-time scoring record, 4 championships, 4 Most Valuable Player awards, 21 All-Star selections and counting. A resume that will be argued over by basketball fans for as long as there is basketball. But the court is not where his actual legacy sits. His legacy is the blueprint. It is the idea that a black athlete from a single mother's apartment in a post-industrial Ohio city could, inside the span of a single career, build wealth on the scale of old money dynasties without waiting for retirement, without diluting his public voice, without backing down from controversy, and without sacrificing his family in the process. Athletes who come after him now think in equity, not endorsements. They think in production companies, in franchise stakes, in generational continuity. They think this way because LeBron showed them it could be done. His legacy is also a school in Akron. It is the kids who will graduate from that school and go to college on his foundation scholarship, many of whom will be the first in their families to do so. It is a community rebuilt, block by block, by a man who never forgot where he came from. And his legacy is still being written. He is 41 years old. He is still playing. Spring Hill is still producing. His sons are building their own careers. His Beverly Hills compound is still under construction. His conversations about one day owning an NBA franchise, most likely in Las Vegas, remain ongoing, and anyone betting against him at this point has not been paying attention for the last 23 years. The kid from Spring Hill Apartments, whose mother moved him 7 times before he was 5, is now building 2 mansions next to each other for himself and his son. That sentence is not a headline. It is a life. And somewhere, quietly, the story keeps going. See you on the next video.